This is the Highly Sensitive Club, episode number 13. Have you been told you're too sensitive, too dramatic, or too much? Do you have big feelings and deep thoughts you don't always know what to do with? I'm Stephanie Lynn, a certified life coach and highly sensitive person. I've helped dozens of highly sensitive clients feel more energized, more confident, and more in control of their high sensitivity. In these episodes, you'll get the information and inspiration to level up your life as a highly sensitive person too. Welcome to the Highly Sensitive Club. Hey there, highly sensitive person. In this episode of the Highly Sensitive Club, I am continuing my series on common highly sensitive person problems. And this one is going to get a little bit more real, a little bit more vulnerable, and you're going to see way more behind the scenes than I normally give you. But it goes along with the theme of the episode because today we are talking about imposter syndrome. And this is exciting because I am literally walking my talk in this moment, dropping some masks with the hope and the intention that it inspires you to do the same. So for many of us highly sensitive people, we are very vigilant and we're attuned to the people around us that we spend the most time with, whether that's our family, our coworkers, our colleagues, our clients, our customers, whatever it is. And we are highly aware and we're highly empathetic about their emotions, their feelings. And that means that we tend to jump to conclusions, especially when we know someone well, about how they're going to think or feel or react to certain things. And so as a result, we create these masks, these personas for ourselves, so that we can try to mitigate as much discomfort in our relationships and with the people around us as possible. And this leads to imposter syndrome, which is the fear of others, of what others are thinking of us and discovering that we're a fraud or that we're not good enough or that we're not who we say we are. And ultimately, imposter syndrome is a big issue for highly sensitive people, but it's an issue that we really create for ourselves because we're the ones who make ourselves feel like an imposter, and we tend to overdo it. We overdeliver, we overextend to try to prove to ourselves and others that we are legit. But every time we're trying to prove something to someone else, instead of just trusting our own integrity and our own character and our own experience, we're just perpetuating the imposter syndrome issue. And this is a big, highly sensitive person issue because it also leads to the topics that I've already covered, which are people pleasing, perfectionism, procrastination, and overthinking. When you have imposter syndrome, you are constantly worried about what the right thing or the best thing is to do. You think that there's a right and a wrong, and you tend to put lots of shoulds on yourself. When you're shoulding all over yourself, you tend to procrastinate because you're doing a bunch of stuff that you don't want to do, or you're overloading your schedule so that there really isn't enough time to do the things that you want to do. The imposter syndrome comes from a place of people pleasing, where you are trying to be who you think other people want you or need you to be in order to love and accept you or respect you. And all of this leads to a problem around overthinking, getting caught in your own thought loops, and not being able to make decisions. So imposter syndrome is kind of the culmination of a lot of the other issues that I've talked about in previous episodes. And what this looks like is that we tend to say yes to things we don't really want to do. We feel like we have to be a certain kind of person or show up in a certain way. A lot of us have imposter syndrome because we feel like we have to show up with this bright, positive, cheery attitude all the time, when in fact, we aren't feeling that way at all. You might have the idea that you have to be someone else to be loved, accepted, or respected. It goes right back to that people-pleasing episode. And you probably fill your schedule with things that others have asked or requested you to do instead of things that you really want to do. So you're doing things that are out of alignment with who you are and what your goals are and what your true desires really are, because you're trying to present this mask to other people, and it reinforces for us that we can't be who we really want to be. We can't be ourselves. So internally, this creates cognitive dissonance for us, which is the idea that there are two competing parts of our mind that feel like they both are trying to be true at the same time, and our brain doesn't know how to make both of them true. It doesn't know how to negotiate that both of these things are true, that we can be both loving and kind and competent at our jobs and that we need to prove ourselves and that other people need us to do certain things in order to prove ourselves. And this creates a lot of confusion for us, and it causes the freeze response. So this happens when you are not being on the outside who you really are and want to be on the inside. You want to make deeper connections. You want to do better work. You want to have more of what you really want and what you envision for your life. But instead, you put on this mask because of the fear of being found out. It's like a self-perpetuating cycle. You're afraid of what people will think of you, so you act a certain way, and then you have to continue to act that way over and over again to make sure that people are still perceiving you the way that you have intended them to in the first place, instead of just being yourself and letting people perceive you however they want because you're happy with the way you're showing up. The world needs you as a highly sensitive person to bring your real gifts and your real perspective to the world, and not one that other people think or expect from you. We need your authentic voice, especially now when there is a lot of dissent, there's a lot of isolation people are experiencing, and there's a lot of performance going on in the world where people are kind of putting out this vision of themselves, and it doesn't always feel like it's the real them or it's the whole version of their life. You might experience this when you're on social media and you're seeing someone else's highlight reel and comparing your life to it and going, well, I'm not happy all the time, but this person seems to be. That can trigger some feelings of imposter syndrome. And it can also show up in sneaky ways. Like it might show up as you really want to be an ally and you want to raise other people's voices. You want to be kind. You want to be helpful. You don't want to hurt other people's feelings. And in being so concerned about doing the right thing and appearing a certain way, you aren't letting yourself express your real voice or be the person that you want to be. Some common imposter syndrome masks that you might be wearing are the mask of the expert. So this is someone who always knows all the right answers. They seem just eminently competent and they can handle anything. And a lot of times this causes imposter syndrome because none of us know everything, especially from the start. And as we're learning new things, it doesn't give us a lot of grace or a lot of wiggle room to be messy or to make mistakes or to have any failures and learn from them. So we put on this imposter syndrome mask of the expert because we feel like if somebody finds out we don't know everything, then we're going to be exposed as a fraud. They're going to find us out. They're going to find out that we're not enough. Another influence for the imposter syndrome is the hero, that you always can swoop in, that you can always fix things for other people, that you're the one who comes in and rescues people. You never need rescuing. And where this creates imposter syndrome is that anytime that you want to be vulnerable or you want to express something that might be a little bit negative, then you might feel like, I'm not allowed to do that. I'm not allowed to be vulnerable because then I'll feel weak or other people won't trust me or they won't respect me. And so there's where your imposter syndrome comes in because you feel like you always have to be the hero and you can never get any support or help from anyone else. Another mask that comes up is the natural. That's someone who is just automatically good at things. You just learn it and you pick it up right away and then you never have any problems with it. And for a lot of us highly sensitive people, we are very smart. We do observe things. We pick up on nuances. So a lot of times we might be a natural at things and things might come a little bit quicker to us because we've spent some time observing and taking in information before we make an action. So it appears like things come very natural, even if they don't. And again, like with the expert and the hero, the imposter syndrome comes up because there are going to be things in life that you're just not good at naturally, that you need some practice, you need some trial and error, you need to experiment and you need to fail in order to learn and get better. And when you have this idea that you have to be a natural at everything, then the imposter syndrome comes in because you don't let yourself make any mistakes. You don't let yourself try new things. You act like you have to hide it if something doesn't immediately come naturally to you and you're amazing at it. And so you never let people into your growth process and your learning process. And the last one I want to talk about is the mask that you can do it all. You can have it all. This is especially one that women have gotten the message that we are supposed to be, that you are supposed to be able to have a family and do all of the caregiving that a stay-at-home mom would do. And you have to go to work and you have to earn a living and you have to be in great health and perfect fitness. And you have to provide healthy meals for your whole family. And you have to be leaning in at work and going for those promotions or starting a side gig or starting a new business. You have to do it all and you have to make it look effortless and flawless. And this is really damaging for a lot of us because it creates that imposter syndrome that if you're just being a human, that if you're not juggling everything perfectly, that if something does need to be put down for a while, or if you happen to drop a ball, that there's something wrong with you. And that if you have any anxiety or any stress at all, that you need to medicate it, that you need to cover it up, that there's something wrong that you have to take care of. And ultimately, this creates a ton of stress with the imposter syndrome because it makes you believe that, again, you're not allowed to be vulnerable. You're not allowed to share any kind of, I hate to say it this way, but weaknesses. Like, you're not allowed to share the real you, who's human, who makes mistakes, who has flaws, who is going through life the best you can in an imperfect way. It makes you feel like you have to be perfect, coming back to that perfectionism. And if anybody finds out that you aren't, then you're going to be a fraud and they're going to disown you or they're going to kick you out of the tribe. Imposter syndrome shows up in a lot of these very sneaky ways. And if you're achievement oriented, it probably feels like, well, you're doing everything you're supposed to do. So of course people should congratulate you and laud you and they should respect you. And when they don't, it can be very confusing and it reinforces the imposter syndrome that you're a fraud and maybe you're not as good as you think you were anyway. I want to add too that humility can be kind of a dangerous aspect of imposter syndrome because a lot of times we believe that to be humble is a virtue. Many of us were taught that. And yes, not to be arrogant or to think that you're better than other people, I think is an admirable quality. But sometimes humility shows up as not taking actual credit for the hard work and the effort and the often collaboration and the attention and care that you put into things. And so a lot of us are taught not to take credit for things or to put the focus on the group instead of our individual efforts, or to say, oh, I was just lucky, or I'm just so blessed, or I'm just so grateful. And what that does is it pushes away our own accomplishments and all of the hard work and the effort that we've put in, and it puts it on external circumstances that are not related to us. And that's why I say often, and this might sound kind of unusual to you, but I think humility is overrated. And I think in a lot of instances, it can be very bad for us because it teaches us not to love and accept ourselves and to put all of our accomplishments and the good things in our life on something else, even when we are making a lot of effort and we're putting in a lot of attention and energy to making things better for ourselves and our loved ones. Now, coming back to, so all of these masks and all of these habits create this imposter syndrome for us, that this isn't really who we are, but we have to maintain this facade and this persona for other people so that they don't catch on that this isn't really us. Even though we really crave to be seen as humans and we crave to be seen for the people that we are inside, whether that's good or bad. And what this eventually does internally is it creates numbness where we're going through the motions, but it just doesn't feel like anything's making any kind of difference. It has a feeling of lack to it, that we're not really connecting. We're not really accomplishing or making progress on the things that we want because we're so busy trying to accomplish all these things and not really soaking in the accomplishments and the celebrations that we could be having. And it creates a lot of fear for us internally. Fear of being found out, fear of rejection, fear of failure, sometimes even fear of success. So there's a lot of deep internal emotional stuff that roils up when you have an imposter syndrome issue. Now, I also face this daily, and I know how to use my Jedi mind tricks to get back on track. Imposter syndrome is not something that can just go away. You never arrive. You never heal completely where you suddenly have to stop dealing with it. But you can get to a place where you recognize it for what it is, that it's just an urge, and you don't have to fall for it. You don't have to go through with it. You don't have to behave based on the imposter syndrome emotions. For instance, I was checking my Facebook group or my Facebook profile today, and I'm in a lot of coaching groups with a lot of other coaches. And I noticed that I had a ton, like a dozen new Facebook friend requests from other coaches who help coaches. And my initial thought, my brain, of course, went into overdrive because all of these people have these very glossy Facebook profiles and their cover photos perfect and their profile pictures very professional and polished. And it's not just a headshot. It's like some glamorous shot in an exotic location. And I immediately thought, oh my gosh, they think that I am in trouble and I'm not doing something right. And they have to swoop in and save me. And they think that I'm not good at what I do. So they have to come in and do all these things. My brain just exploded. It just went off in this messy, like, oh my gosh, I'm a fraud. And what I really discovered is that none of those people had taken the time to make a connection with me. None of them really knew much about my work. It was just kind of generic business stuff for coaches. And when I caught myself thinking, oh my gosh, they think that I need help and I have to make something out of other people's opinions that they haven't even shared, they just gave me friend requests, I thought, oh, this has nothing to do with me. These are just people trying to make sales, and the way that they're doing it doesn't work for me, but that's okay. It doesn't mean anything about me. And in fact, it actually gave me great information because it showed me what I really care about, which is connection and relationship and getting to that deeper place that we highly sensitive people really love. So this is just a small example, and I'm going to get into some other imposter syndrome stuff for me later on, but this is also something that I help my clients tap back into as well, their creativity and their authenticity. Such as a client who felt really bad that her schedule tends to be a little bit loosey-goosey during the week. And she felt bad that she feels very comfortable making last minute cancellations or slotting people in last minute, and it doesn't bother her at all. And we came to the conclusion for her that it's actually okay to be spontaneous. And she likes being able to hero a little bit at the last minute. And just reframing that for her, that it's okay for her to be the way that she is, was so, so powerful. And it made her feel more confident in the value that she provides, that she can do things last minute for her clients. And that is really valuable. I have another client who was really anxious about sharing her voice, again, because she thought, I'm a white woman and there's more than enough of people like me from my background. It's not okay for me to share my voice because other people from more diverse backgrounds need to have their time in the light. And what we really came to is that there's plenty of room for other people from lots of diverse backgrounds and from minorities. And there's room for your voice as well. Even if you are part of the dominant culture, you are allowed to share your voice because someone needs to hear it. Someone wants to connect with you. Someone is going to benefit from you. So it's okay for you to share your voice, and it's okay that it's not for everyone. Suddenly the imposter syndrome just wasn't as strong. And for many of my clients, there's a sense that they're not afraid, they're not allowed to tell people what they really want or what they really need or what they really desire because they're afraid that people are going to think they're weird or they're crazy or why would you care about that? It's silly. And what we discover is that ultimately it doesn't matter what those other people think. It matters what you think and what's really the best thing for you. So with many of my clients, we come back around to, I'm not going to pay that close of attention to what other people think. I'm still going to take their advice. I'm going to take things under consideration, but ultimately I'm the authority on my life. So if this sounds like a good plan to you, then here are 3 steps, 3 simple, maybe not easy steps, but they're things that you can practice to help you drop the imposter syndrome and actually feel like you are the competent expert in your life that you are. So step 1 is to love and accept yourself. Now, I know that this sounds woo-woo, but this is also extremely practical because when you're so busy beating yourself up and judging yourself, you play small, you freeze, you hide, you avoid, you quit because you're creating that self-fulfilling prophecy that you've done something wrong. When you learn to love and accept yourself, whether you're doing a great job and feeling wonderful or whether you're uncomfortable and you're facing challenges and obstacles, when you can love yourself regardless, suddenly it doesn't matter what other people think, and you don't have to wear masks at all. So the first step is really to love and accept yourself no matter what. This is crucial. And for a lot of us, this is a lifelong process and a skill that you have to keep practicing. It's one of those weights that I mentioned in an earlier episode. Like for a long time, you've had the thought and you've been practicing the weight. I should be doing this. I should be doing better. I should. And instead, you're practicing the new weight. You're putting that weight down and you're practicing new muscles. I love myself. I accept myself. I am okay exactly as I am, and I've got my own back. When you are your own best friend, you don't have to make decisions based on the fear of rejection or fear of other people's opinions. You have your own back at all times, and you stop expecting yourself to be someone you aren't and someone you don't actually want to be. When you say yes to your goals and your dreams, that is when things start to flourish. When you love and accept yourself, that's when you can really say yes to the things that you want, instead of chasing you don't actually want. That's a no. We don't want any more of that for you. Now, sometimes you might have some obligations. This is your highly sensitive nuance for the day. Yes, sometimes there are things that we choose to do that we don't necessarily enjoy or that we really wouldn't want to do, but there's another benefit to it. It's going to help us continue to grow our relationships. It's supporting someone else. It might be something we don't enjoy doing, like going to the gym, for instance, or flossing our teeth, but it gives us an overall net positive in the long run because we're getting a good result out of it in the long term. So not everything is going to be super enjoyable, but when you love and accept yourself, you can show up for all of it and you can be very intentional about what you want and how you're getting it. Step 2, after you really practice loving and accepting yourself, is to face your fears and share the real you. Now, I am not saying that you have to go on a big public forum and suddenly share a bunch of things, but it might mean that with 1 or 2 people, you just practice sharing more of what you actually want, sharing your true self, your true desires, your true feelings about things, instead of saying, oh, whatever you want is fine, or, oh yeah, I'm up for that, and just being very accommodating and people pleasing. When you face your fears, we have this idea sometimes that we have to wait until there's no fear, that we have to wait until we're comfortable. And that's a lot of times what people mean when they say, I'm not ready yet. I'm not comfortable yet. I'm waiting for the fear to disappear before I can take an action step. And ultimately, courage is not something you can have or do or take action on unless there's fear. If you are fearless, that is probably an issue because fear actually serves a lot of purposes in our life. It keeps us safe and it keeps us from dying and having some kind of horrible accident or being chased by a bear or something. Fear can be very helpful in certain circumstances, and courage is only present when there's fear. You're never going to have an opportunity. Okay, I'm not going to say never, but in most instances, there's going to be a little bit of fear involved. And your job is to go ahead and do it anyway, because that's how you strengthen your courage muscle. Now, recently, I was having a really fantastic coaching session, and I made a great analogy because The Labyrinth is one of my favorite movies with David Bowie and a very young Jennifer Connelly, and it's one of Jim Henson's greatest movies. I freaking love this movie. It's just got nostalgia written all over it. And halfway through the movie, Sarah, the main character, the whole story is that she's trying to get to the center of the labyrinth to rescue her baby brother from the Goblin King who has stolen her brother. And throughout the story, she's constantly faced with obstacles, and these creatures are pointing her in the wrong direction and trying to misdirect her. And she ends up in this underground tunnel with her guide, the Goblin Hoggle. And there are these faces in the wall that are talking to them. And they're saying things like, beware, you're going the wrong way. Go back while you still can. And Hoggle says, oh, shut up. They get louder the closer you get to the labyrinth, but they're just saying things. And I made this connection in my head that that's the way that our doubt works. And that's the way that our fear works. It gets stronger the closer you get to your goal. So anytime your brain is telling you basically a version of, for the path you take will lead to certain destruction, like the walls in the labyrinth, this is just your brain, your doubts and your fears piping up because you're getting closer to what you actually want. You don't have to believe them. You don't have to trust those things. You don't have to take them as the ultimate truth because they're not facts. They're just urges, and you are perfectly capable of not giving into an urge. Now, I'm about to do this in a second, but before that, I want to get to step 3. So you love and accept yourself. You face your fears and share something in a vulnerable way, whether it's with one person or a lot of people. And step 3 is to learn to hold your uncomfortable feelings and expand your capacity to feel emotions in general. Now, we've been sold this bill of goods that you are always supposed to be happy. And that if you're not happy, if you're even a little bit anxious, or if you're stressed, then there's something wrong. You have to get some medication. You should meditate more. You should just journal more. You should drink more coconut water, whatever the solution is. The idea is that if you're not happy, there's something wrong. And this is not the truth. And it causes a lot of pain and a lot of suffering and a lot of anxiety where there doesn't need to be any of those things. When you learn that you can have your own back, even through negative feelings, even through discomfort, you learn that you're always there for yourself, even if someone doesn't like the real you that you're showing. It doesn't matter. So what someone says is about them. What you hear is about you. What someone says is about them. What you hear is about you. So coming back to my Facebook example, these people are friend requesting me, most likely because they wanted to sell to me. I might be their ideal client. And what I heard was, oh my gosh, they think I need help. They don't believe in me, which is ironic because these are probably people who are like, of course I believe in you. That's why you should pay me thousands of dollars. I understand because I am a coach and I genuinely think that. But if I haven't built a relationship with someone first, then it doesn't feel genuine. It doesn't feel like there's a connection there. So I heard a certain thing from what these people were saying or doing. And the biggest thing I see right now is a lot of performance with professionals, especially with people who have big audiences and they're influencers. And we see these people, especially on social media, and they appear perfect. They're so produced and they have perfect makeup and everything just looks so polished and so professional. And it's hard to imagine what the messy parts of their life might look like. So, as you are getting uncomfortable with your feelings in step 3, and you're accepting that even if people look so shiny and perfect on the outside, they have their own stuff going on too. We all face these things. We all have our own struggles and challenges. And when we can see that for real, then we start to connect. Then we start to drop the imposter syndrome. Then we start to get vulnerable and to build mutual relationships and to start going in the direction we want. Now, for me, I want to see real things. I want to see depth. I'm highly sensitive. I want to get deeper. I want to know about people's real experience and I want to see vulnerability. So that's what I'm creating right now. And as I've teased a couple times in this episode, I am going to walk my talk a little bit. I don't have good experiences with people selling me things before we have a relationship or even some kind of connection. I don't like it when people are trying to sell me something when I have never seen their product before, or they've never sent me a message. They've never reached out to me and tried to make a genuine connection. And I'm tired of the mask of perfectionism and having everything together because it's just a mask. It's just a picture or a series of pretty pictures online. It's not the reality. So here's the skinny on me. I'm going to exercise number 2 because I've been loving and accepting myself all over the place. So I'm going to face my fears and I'm going to share something vulnerably on a podcast that's going to be out here in the world for forever. I have recently raised my rates because I believe that I have a lot to offer. I'm a certified coach by an ICF accredited association. I then teach other coaches and mentor them so that they can gain these skills and they can become amazing coaches too. I have invested many 5 figures in myself, in my self-development, in growing, in learning, in business, in personal development, in health. And I can turn around and provide so much value for you as a highly sensitive person, sharing all of my tools, all of my exercises, all of this great stuff. And the real version, the behind the scenes version, is that, yeah, I love what I do and I can do a lot for you. And I'm still growing my business and I'm still experimenting and I'm still trying things out and I am still making mistakes all the time. I am still picking myself up because I'm like, oh, I was avoiding that thing. Okay, we're just going to do that faster this time. We're going to get over it faster. We are all going through this process, no matter what our life is, whether it's a traditional job, whether it's a business or a side business, whether it's a personal project, or whether you're just in the process of creating your life. Sometimes you make mistakes. Sometimes you try things out and they don't work. Sometimes you grow and experiment and it feels really uncomfortable. So I'm still in that phase. I still have a lot to offer. I still stand by my pricing and I have 2 side gigs. So I'm a mentor coach for my coach certification program, which I love. It creates a lot of credibility. I love the certification process. But the part that you don't know, because of reasons I'll explain in a moment, is that when I am in between clients, I do delivery driving during slow weeks because it's easy to hop in my car and go make money so that I don't show up with that desperate energy to my clients and my potential clients. I never, ever want you to feel like I am trying to sell you something and I'm trying to pull one over on you or manipulate you or persuade you or convince you if you don't feel like it's a good fit for you. And in order to do that, I take care of my own financial health. I take care of my own bills. I create my own sources of income so that I'm not leaning on my clients to provide that. Now, do I want to make a great living from my coaching business? 100%. Absolutely, I do. But while I'm growing it and providing more value and coming up with great ways to serve you, I'm also taking care of myself. And that's something I haven't shared a lot because I didn't want people to think, oh, well, she's not credible, or, I don't want to work with a coach who's still working on herself. A lot of us coaches have that fear that we have to be perfect before we can offer our coaching, and it's just not true. So I'm going to be super vulnerable with you here that I want it to feel good when you work with me. I know I can help you get amazing results because I have great tools. And this is just one way for you to get what you want. There are probably lots of ways for you to get what you want, but I feel confident that I can help you with the tools and the skills and the techniques that I've learned and all of the support and all of the energy that I'm pouring into my relationship with you. That doesn't mean I'm perfect. And it doesn't mean that I have all of my dreams yet either. I'm still a work in progress, just like you, and I'm working towards them just like you. So I use my own skills. I use my own tools on myself. I coach myself all the time. It's actually one of my favorite parts of driving because I get to spend a lot of time connecting with myself. And especially over the last few months, I have spent more time with myself in the quiet, thinking about things, connecting with myself instead of listening to podcasts and audiobooks because I was so uncomfortable with my own negative emotions before. Accepting my negative emotions makes it easier for me to love and accept myself so that I can face my fears and share scary things like this with you. That, yes, I am not a super glamorous coach. And yes, one day I would love to be polished and I would love to have all these amazing things and just look super professional. And in the meantime, I'm here in my office with my webcam and my laptop and my lovely speaker and my artwork in the background. And that's good enough because I want to share this message with you and it's really important. Number two that I want to share, because I'm just going to blow up all of these masks, is that my fiance and I are polyamorous. And that means we are non-monogamous and that we are open to having romantic and sexual relationships with other people besides each other. Now, I learned about this about 5 years ago and discovered that this is actually an orientation for me. So it has a very similar letting people in or coming out process as being of a different sexual orientation, like gay or lesbian. And I discovered that for most of my life, I've had romantic feelings for more than one person. And I felt like there was something wrong with me. And so I hid it for a long time and I repressed it because I thought, well, that's just not an option. And then I discovered other people who were doing it and seemed to be doing it pretty well. Like they seemed to be healthy. They had great relationships. Their lives didn't look very dramatic or feel like they couldn't handle it. And I thought, wow, maybe that is possible for me. So it was really a process of coming home to myself that I do have feelings for more than one person. And I do look at relationships a little bit differently because even my friendships might not look like they have to fit into a certain box. I don't have the attitude that my romantic relationships have to be more important or deeper than my friendships or my family relationships or even my client relationships sometimes. It is important to me that I'm connecting on a deep level with the people I'm with and the time that I'm with them. And that means that I'm open to lots of different interpretations of relationships. So just coming out, I am polyamorous. And that means that that's a little unusual. And so if you have questions, feel free to hit me up. My website will be in the show notes, stephanielynn.com. Send me an email. If you don't like it, that's okay, because I still love and accept myself anyway, and everybody else in my life does too. And the third thing that I'm going to share, because I had a great conversation lately with a business friend who recommended that I share a little bit more of my woo, my woo-woo. So I want to share that, yes, I am a little bit woo-woo, and yes, I am obsessed with my new Lumen Oracle deck. And I do like crystals, and I am into some of this witchy woo stuff. And it's not something that I feel like everybody has to subscribe to or that you have to believe in it. Of course not. And I believe that whatever people's faith and whatever their beliefs are all welcome. But for me, it's fun and it feels magical. And the part of me who grew up watching, like reading Harry Potter and reading The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings and watching The Labyrinth just loves having an oracle deck that is just so pretty. So I can do readings for people every day. I was inspired when Marie Forleo talked about her journey starting her coaching business and how she would just straight up tell people, I might not have the most experience, but I'm reading the books, I'm going to the classes, I'm doing the things that most people don't want to do so that I can turn around and help you. And so I will tell you the same thing. I am not a guru, I'm not an expert, but I aim to be a contributor and I aim to help and share my perspective where I think it can be helpful to other people. I use the tools that I teach my clients and my workshop attendees, my class members, my group coaching participants. I use all of the stuff that I teach them on myself because it works. I see it works for them and I see it work for me. I am connecting to myself and I am breaking up all of my masks and sharing vulnerable things. And I hope that this gives you some hope that not everything is perfect, even if it looks like it is on the outside, even though I might be showing up in a way that feels very professional for you. And I hope that that's the case, so that you're getting some great messages from this, that it's making sense, that I'm communicating clearly. I don't have everything perfect either. I still have dreams and goals that I'm going for. And I still have imposter syndrome fears that come up too. And the goal is to love and accept yourself, face your fears, and then deal with the discomfort, because it's all going to be okay. Now, I am working through fears and the urges as they come up and not indulging in them as much, just like you. And I'm getting a little bit tired of the expectation that you have to have everything under control when you are really living a normal human life that has ups and downs, and that's the normal part. The downs are just as normal as the ups, and treating our lives like there's something broken if we're not happy 100% of the time is making us unhappy. So for you, you can keep wearing your mask. It could be a really beautiful masquerade mask, like the ones that they sell in Venice. Or you could put it down and show your real face. So I want to give you a call to action this week, which is, where are you pretending or working to be something that you're not in your life? Where does it feel like you have that tension, that cognitive dissonance? Like, this isn't really what I want or who I am, but I'm showing up in this way and it feels weird. Could it be in your relationships? Is it in your health? Is it in your work? Is it the way that you're showing up to your money? Is it a personal project? Is it a business project or a side gig or a business you want to start? Where can you drop a mask and share more of yourself with the world? Because that's what we are really craving right now. We're craving that authentic, genuine connection. And for highly sensitive people, we're craving that depth. We want to know what really matters to you and to other people. And we want to share that and feel like we're open to sharing that. Now, just to recap, imposter syndrome is kind of the culmination of a lot of other highly sensitive person problems like perfectionism, procrastination, people pleasing, and overthinking. It's the idea that if somebody figures out that you're not perfect or you're not exactly the person that you say you are, that you're somehow some kind of fraud or you're not enough. And this causes external problems for our calendars, for the tasks that we're taking on, for other people's expectations. It creates internal issues with our sense of emotional well-being, with numbness, fear, feelings of lack, and it stops us from sharing our gifts for the world and really making the impact that we crave making. Now, in order to get over imposter syndrome, there are 3 things that you have to do. They may not be easy, they're constant practices, but you get better at them over time. The first one is to love and accept yourself, no matter what. Number 2 is to face your fear, drop the masks, and share something about yourself. Now, again, you don't have to share it with the world like I'm doing in a podcast, but you can share it with a few close people. You can tell them what you really think and what you really feel. You can tell them what you want, what you really, really want, and they will love and accept you. And if they don't, they may not be the person for you, which is why number 3 is to deal with your own feelings of discomfort and to expand your capacity to feel. Once you do these things, it can be a little bit scary. That's where the courage comes in. The fear doesn't go away, but you do it with courage anyway, and it becomes easier and it becomes more familiar and you become more comfortable with it. Once you do these things, you could continue to wear the mask or you could put it down. And I would love to know where you can drop a mask and share more of your real self with your loved ones or with the world. Now, all of this being said, I do have one-on-one coaching openings. And I'm still saying this because I truly believe that I can help you, because I've done it with clients. I do it with myself all the time. I'm constantly learning new tools. I'm constantly working on my education and trying new things. I'm working on self-development as well. And I'm just turning around and I get better every single day because I'm coaching every single day, whether that's a mentee, whether that's a client, or whether it's myself. So if you are interested in a one-on-one coaching session with me, or if you're interested in a longer coaching engagement, go to stephanielynn.com and visit the book a consultation call page and just book a call with me. We can have a consultation and see if it's a good fit for you. And I will be honest about what I think would be a good fit for you, if it's me or if it might be someone else. If you're ready to just go, you can go to the Work With Me page and go to the Buy Now button and just buy a package. If you're ready to go and if you're ready to do this and if you resonate with what I'm putting down and you're picking it up, then let's go, because I am going to show up for you 1000%. I am completely here for whatever you are bringing. The other thing I want to tell you is that I have a free workshop coming up next Wednesday, March 28th at 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. virtually on Zoom. It's completely free. And the title of the workshop is Feel Your Feels Before They Escalate to a 10 or an 11 out of 10. Sometimes we blow up at that 11 and we're like, oh, why did I do that? So if you are one of those highly sensitive people who feels like you're overwhelmed by the world, that you just want to know how to be in the world and not let it completely buffet you around and feel like it's overriding you or daunting you. If you feel like you're in the middle of the storm and you're just being buffeted by the world, I can teach you how to have your own back. So I want you to come to this hour-long workshop. You're going to feel more like yourself. You're going to learn how to be more centered, attuned, and in integrity. And I'm going to teach you how to do that no matter what's happening in the world around you. Because wouldn't it feel so freaking powerful for you to just continue to feel however you're feeling, regardless of what the political situation is in the world, what your loved ones are doing or not doing, how your work or your business are going or not going? It doesn't matter, because you can continue to feel wonderful internally and interiorly just by helping yourself feel your emotions and expand your capacity, especially with those negative emotions. So if any of this sounds like you, go to my website, stephanielynn.com. Link will be in the show notes, and go to my workshops and classes page to register for this free class. It also has a replay too, so that you can continue to watch it. And I will be announcing some of my new value and some of the new services that I am going to be offering in the near future, because I'm still creating lots of new things to try and help you in lots of different ways if one-on-one coaching doesn't work for you right now, or if it doesn't feel like a good fit. So thank you for listening to this episode. Thank you for being the recipient of my confessional and letting me drop my mask so that I don't have to worry about the imposter syndrome. You are getting more and more glimpses out of me. I don't feel like a fraud, because I feel like I'm really showing you who I am and what I care about. And I hope that that resonates for you and it inspires you and motivates you to do the same, to share more of yourself with someone that you care about and to bring more of yourself into the world, because the world really does need your highly sensitive gifts, your perspective, and your voice. They're important. Thank you for listening or watching if you're watching this on YouTube, and I will see you on the next episode. Thanks for listening. If you're ready to take what you learned today to the next level, head over to stephanielynn, that's LINN.com, and book a consultation call to get started. I can't wait to see you there, my dear HSP.